So hi, I'm Ron Williams, and I'd like to welcome you to my newest video, doing the rear brakes on a 2007 Chevy Silverado. Shooting this video to help you do-it-yourselfers at home that want to try to do this. This brake system that's on this truck, when I first started doing these brakes years ago, was very frustrating. It's got what's called a single spring retainer that holds the brake shoes on. We're going to get to that in a minute. So it's not like a traditional shoe where there's a spring and a puck to be removed, which those can be in their own right fun and challenging sometimes. But I'm going to show you how to do this the easy way. Hopefully you're not watching this video because you've already taken your brakes apart and now you got to figure out how to put the single spring back in, because it can be done without the tool. I did it for years without the tool, but I can tell you I shed a lot of blood from busted knuckles using screwdrivers and vice grips to get that spring back in. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do this one from start to finish, so be patient with me. If you want to use your fast forward button or your rewind button, the pause button, you go right ahead. Also going to let everybody know that I haven't really been doing on the last videos is letting everybody know that I'm going to put the parts links to the tools and in some cases the parts that I'm using on my videos. They'll be in the description box underneath the video, so most of the time you'll have to click on a little drop down menu and it'll have the links to either the Amazon Associate or the Amazon Prime, I guess it would be, parts links, or wherever the direct link's going to go to. So the first thing we need to do on this is we need to remove the hubcap and the wheel assembly. I'm going to get a standard screwdriver. Which I thought I had readily available in my tool cart, and I did not. Do this very carefully. This is a chrome wheel. It's an older one, so it's not as critical, but you want to just carefully pry out on it. Try not to scratch the chrome, and these little clips, just like that one, they break all the time. This truck is already missing the other three. This was the last hubcap remaining on the truck, and it may not necessarily stay on. These things break quite often, and unfortunately it's a byproduct of our doing the job. So if you put a big pry bar in there and pry it, you're probably going to break them all off. I do not have a helper to shoot the video today, so I have to do this on a tripod, so bear with me. I'll try to readjust the screen the best I can for you. The first thing I'm going to do, the first thing you're going to do at home, is jack the vehicle up and get it on safety stands. Do not work on the vehicle with a jack stand or with a jack underneath your differential, holding it up in the center like you see so many people doing. It's very dangerous. And that's good advice, considering I actually have a friend that had a motorhome fall on him and almost kill him. And he had safety stands. Long story, but it can happen. So once your tire's off, on both sides, you're going to have a drum that you're going to have to remove, okay? So sometimes these things will slide off, and sometimes they won't. Here's the trick. Get yourself a bolt. Most of these drums will have this on the Chevrolet. There's two threaded holes, and a lot of people always wonder what those holes are for. Well, if you take a 3/8 coarse bolt, I think it's 3/8 16, and in my particular case, the bolt I'm using has a 9/16 head on it, and you run it in the forward position. Should pull the drum right off. You don't have to fight it too much. Take your drum and inspect your drum for any major damage. We're not going to see it on this video, at least not on this side. But when the shoes wear into your drum, they can wear in so deep that it leaves a lip right here on the drum. If that happens, the drum may not want to come off the vehicle. And because that didn't happen here, it's going to be difficult to show you what the remedy for that is, but there's a star adjuster right here. And to be able to get the shoes to go back in far enough to be able to get that drum off, you will have to pull the self-adjuster cap out of the back, which looks like this. It's just a rubber kind of oblong plug. And you'll have to use two tools. You'll have to use a screwdriver and a brake tool, or a secondary screwdriver that will fit in there, and you'll have to rotate that thing. You'll have to release the pin. Let me get you up close so you can see this, even though we're not going to do it. You will have to push this out with a screwdriver through the hole in the backside, and then at the same time you will be turning this little star adjuster right here. See if I can get my camera to focus on it for you. There it is. It's easier to see right there. It's that the little thing with the teeth on it. That's the star adjuster. That's what actually adjusts your brakes. So once you get your drum off, which sometimes can be fun, this is where the fun begins, because what we have here is I'll give you this angle right here. We have what's called a single spring, and it's basically this piece right here coming around, coming up to this left-hand side. That's what actually squeezes the drums, pulls them in together, and then when you step on your brake, these two pistons that are inside of the wheel cylinder will push out, and that will, boy, my camera does not want to adjust with this backlight behind me. It'll push these out, and then that's what wedges your shoe into your drum and stops your vehicle. So you can see on this one, the pad material that's actually on this shoe is paper thin. It's completely worn out. So the fun part is just being able to do these. And I am going to see if I can find a way to be able to get you guys to see this up close. Nope, that's not going to work. So what we're going to be using, and I'll try to quit talking when I'm away from the camera so you guys, is we're going to be using, this one I actually purchased from Matco Tools. It's a single spring brake tool for GM, and it basically down here says it covers 91 to current GM H bodies, Bonnevilles, Deltas, Oldsmobiles, Cadillacs, Pontiacs, and then 95 to current Chevrolet Lumina and Monte Carlo, and it'll also work on 2004 to current Colorados, 2005 to current Silverados, including the 2007 models. And that's what this truck is, a 2007. And what this kit is it's basically a special tool. Little plastic pieces, come on. There we go. It's basically a tool that's going to pull these springs out. So I'm going to show you how to use those here in just a second. Okay, so there's a couple of things we need to do first before we get there. First thing you're going to need to do, or I recommend that you do, this step is not necessarily mandated, but I'm telling you, it makes life a lot easier. So underneath the driver's side of your truck, just forward of your rear wheel, you are going to see your parking brake. See if I can get the camera in here. Your parking brake cables come out. Come on, tilt back. There we go. And they go into this adapter, so it's a single cable from the front, and then it goes to twin cables, one for each side. Simply pull on your cables. Okay, take both of your drums off before you do this. And I haven't taken the right rear drum off yet. When the drums are off, these cables will pull really easy. And just turn it and release the cables. Okay? Once you do that, it's going to make it really easy to be able to swap these things out. So just release those. Obviously, make sure that your parking brake is not set. So if you've got to that point in the video and you're already going, why is it tight and I can't get it loose? Well, that would be why. Okay, get us some light so we can see what we're doing. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do the brake shoes on this is we're going to be removing the springs and then these main springs. Now, on a traditional parking brake shoe, you'll see one of these. It's a spring, a little flat retainer, and then this little pin which usually comes through from the backside and sticks through the face of the shoe. If you have one of these sitting right here on your shoe, this video doesn't pertain to you. At least more often than not it doesn't. I've never seen this and this on the same shoe, but I haven't seen every brake in the world either, so it's possible. But on ours, if you've got this one, it's a different setup. So we're dealing with just a single spring right now. So I like to do this with a pair of vice grips. Okay, get up on here on the spring and then just pull, and then just pull the spring off. Now you this usually comes in what's called a hardware kit. These springs look like they're in really good shape, so they're going to get reused. Once that spring is off, you notice how I set it down on top of the leaf spring in the direction that I pulled it off. It just makes it easier to remember. And then this is the star adjuster mechanism that does the self-adjusting. So we're going to take this and we're going to set it up here. And before I do anything, I'm going to kind of clean off the end of the pistons and the self-adjuster for now without getting it all over my cell phone, hopefully. And then the way this is going to operate, and let me tell you, this is a competency test right here the first time you use this. So the hook is going to go inside. Let me check my camera and see if this is getting it. The hook is going to go inside, facing outward, just like that, on the spring right up where it goes into the shoe. Okay? And then I'm going to pull it back off so I can show you this. So right here, there's two grooves. Those grooves are going to sit on the backing plate right here, and there's a groove for the distance of each shoe that comes with these trucks. This kind of concave section is actually going to go right onto your axle on the inside here. So once you get this thing in, you're going to loosen this up so everything fits nice. And some of this tool will go on the inside, some of them it will go on the outside. This one's going to go on the outside. So it's actually going to go on the hub assembly right there. And on mine, it looks like it is going to go on the first groove closest to us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just put a little bit of tension on both of these so that this tool will stay in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, now I've got, sorry about this, I really wish I had somebody else holding the camera, fellas and gals, just bear with me. So I'm on the first notch, It's basically right here on the backing plate. The tool is right here on the hub assembly on the front face. And then I have the hook hooked right there where it goes into the shoe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this adjuster inboard until it releases this shoe. So where it looks like it's centered in the hole. See where it's going through? Okay. And that's okay. Stuff is going to fall out sometimes on you. The other key is you're going to take this one and you're going to turn it until it pulls the spring out of the hole. Okay? Once it's out of that hole, then you can just take the shoe and you can rotate it right up out of the hole, just like that. And now that spring is being held in place. Okay? Now one of the things I need to do right now is I need to find all the little pieces that fell out of my self-adjuster. Which are these pieces right here. Okay? And I'm going to just go ahead right now and figure out which way this screws to go in. Oop, I guess I should put it in front of the camera. Doggone it. This video is going to get a lot of hate mail. Alright, so once that's in there, now this is going to go this way because this is going to fit right there. Let me get the camera back in there. There we go. So it's going to go right there. Alright? So I'm going to take this, I'm going to set this right up here. Alright? Now the next one, this side's a little bit more tricky because it has the parking brake cable attached to it. And parking brake cable should come on your new shoes if you get a good quality part. And I will tell you this right now. The single best thing you can ever do working on your vehicle is buy good quality parts. If you buy junk, you're going to get what you pay for. Okay? And you really don't need that kind of a headache. So this is going to do the exact same thing as the other side. It's going to go inside there. It's going to go on there. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this side will pull out easier off the face first, which it just did. Okay, so I'm basically backing this out until that piece right there is out of the hole. See that? Just far enough for it to get out of the hole. That's all we need. Okay, once it's out of the hole, then we can take a brake shoe and hopefully rotate it up out. Okay, now here's where the fun comes in, because the parking brake cable is actually pinched in here. I'm going to pause the video for a second and go get the other shoe. Okay, so here's the shoe that we're going to be putting in. I'm going to re-put my light on the other side. Stand by. See if that lighting is better. Yeah, I'm not getting such a glare now. So what we need to do is we need to switch this assembly over. But there is a parking brake cable that comes through here, through the spring, and it basically latches in here. Now the easiest way to do this, and I know this is not going to be GM certified, this is one of those times I like to break the rules, is take a screwdriver and put it in here and bend this little tab back. Okay, so that when you go to put that piece in there and it locks in, all you got to do is push on that. And so to get this shoe out, what you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to just bend the old shoe apart. Okay, and then take the cable that you disconnected for the side you're working on and push it back towards the vehicle and see if you can get this little piece to poke through. And right now, this is where it's going to be helpful to have a second filmer, because I need to be in 14 different places at the same time. So what I'm going to do, after dropping my screwdriver on the floor, so I'm going to get myself a pair of dikes and grab the head of this and lift it up out of this little detent that it's in, and then pull it through. Once it's pulled through, I should be able to pull the spring out, and there's my old shoe right there. Okay, so this is the piece that I pried out, the whole enchilada, as they say. And as you can tell, this side actually has a little bit more shoe on it than the front one does, but it's still paper thin up here. So now we go get our new shoe. Okay, and what we need to do, make sure we got the right shoe, so the moving mechanism is going to be facing the inside. The radius is going to go with the wheel. Make sure you got the proper shoe. Take your screwdriver, put it in here, and bend this out just a little bit. Okay, don't do it too much, you don't want to break it off. But what you're looking for is you want that cable to be able to come through here and come out, and you're going to put it up and over this little, see this little shelf right here? You're going to put it over that so that the head is sitting right there, and then you're going to just push this back down with your finger. So the first thing I have to do is grab the cable and pull it back towards me, aim it up, and get it inside the center of that spring. And then I'm going to step back in front of you, and I'm going to put it up and over that little shelf. And then I'm going to bend this whole thing right back down on top of it. And it's really easy to do with your fingers. Anybody can do it, even a youngster. It's not something you got to put a lot of muscle into. Once that's done, make sure your spring goes back through the hole. And in my particular case, I accidentally put the cable the opposite way, so I've got to pull it back out just for a split second. So I'm going to pause the video, reset it, and then I'll finish up here. Okay, so I'm restarting the video. So what happened is there's a little, you'll see it when you're working on this, on the bottom side, there's a little like clamp that's built into the backing plate that spring goes through. When the spring is out, the cable's capable of popping out through a slot, but the slot's too small for the spring. So what happened was when I went to go put the spring on the brake cable the first time, the cable popped out of the groove, and when the spring went on, I couldn't get the spring through the bigger hole. So if you're working on one of these, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, and you know, no big deal. So I'm gonna pull my cable back up, get it back up over here like it's supposed to be. Sometimes it's actually a little helpful to use your screwdriver to reset that. And because I have a camera rolling, my cart wasn't directly in front of me. So once that's there, now we push that back down in just like we did the last time. Now we're down inside of our little groove. Let me see if I can show you that little, see this little tunnel of metal that the spring's going through? Bring it around on the other side. That little tunnel right there is what I missed, and I had to take it back off, and it didn't take but just a couple minutes, so no harm, no foul. Now I'm gonna set the shoe back down in here. Pull my cable. I'm gonna put this shoe, rotate it right back down in here, make sure it fits, and then before I button this up, I'm gonna take a rag Sorry about that, I had to go grab some grease. I'm going to take a rag and I'm going to clean these 3 spots that the backing plate has where the shoe rides, and you'll see there's wear marks. Do yourself a favor, get yourself some wheel bearing grease and put the wheel bearing grease right where those little marks are. Okay, what that's going to do for you is it's going to give the shoe something nice and smooth to glide on so that it doesn't wear into that backing plate. Be careful not to get grease on your actual shoe itself. Otherwise, you'll have to do a little bit of sanding. Sand that off. Pull your cable, get everything nice and snug. And then what you're going to do is you're going to line up the little point on the end of that spring, and you're just going to go backwards to the off position until it goes through that hole. Okay. Once that's done, you can release your tension on the other one that actually sucks the shoe into the wheel cylinder. Take all the tension off of these, unhook it, and pull it out. This is the way to go. Right here is this little tool. And I'm gonna see if I can give you guys what it looks like from straight on. Same thing on this shoe. We're gonna make sure that our shoe matches the original shoe, which I just did off camera. I'm going to clean these little spots up here. If you have to use a little bit of sandpaper or a little bit of degreaser, go ahead. In my case, these are cleaning up nicely. Take a little bit of grease on my finger and just put them right there on only on the 3 spots. You don't have to go anywhere else. It's just where the shoe's going to touch. Okay, just like on the other side, we're going to slide this thing down in here and just rotate it down. It'll find a nice little home for itself. Okay, push it in just a little bit. You'll see the wheel cylinder push in. line up the hole, and then release the forward, the one that's facing forward, which puts this back in towards the shoe. Sometimes you have to give it a little bit of a pop for it to suck it in. Okay. Now, sometimes that little spring doesn't want to go all the way in by itself. Its normal reaction is to want to pull inboard, not inboard that direction. So if you just take a screwdriver, put it on the top of it, and just go pop, a lot of times it'll snap right in. It hasn't snapped. My tool fell apart. It hasn't snapped all the way in yet, so what I'm going to do... Oh yeah, it did. Okay. It's sitting right up against the spring. It just looked like it had too much of a hook. So I am going to put my tool back together so that it's one piece again. And now I need to put my self-adjuster together. Let's see what we're doing. Okay, so now we need to put the self-adjuster together, and the self-adjuster has a couple of pieces to it. Okay, it has this piece here, which the long side is going to come towards us, and then on the opposite side it has this weird thing. It's two cutouts. Now the small cutout is going to be for our self-adjuster right here. Okay, the large cutout is the one that's going to go onto the shoe. And if you notice, let me make sure I've got this in view, there's like a little tab. That tab needs to go towards the rear when we put this in. Okay? Don't have it at the front or it'll get in the way of the self-adjuster touching the star. Get this thing in here. Pull back on the shoe and set the top, give you a nice view of it. Okay, so that's the way it's going to look. All right, and then we're going to take this, we're going to put it first off, it needs to be on the outside of the star over here. Okay. Oh, sorry guys, I didn't realize I was out of there. Basically, I took this and I put it on that pin and then got it lined up with the star. And now we are going to put the spring there, and I'm going to find my vice grips and I'm going to hook back up to it right there. And then what I'm going to try to do with one hand so you can see me is I'm going to try and put that right back on there. So now I have the spring in the second hole, or the left hole, let's just say the left hole, and then it's going to go straight across and it's going to go on that little tab that's sticking out off of the self-adjuster foot. Okay, and then your self-adjuster foot, you're going to pull it out with your hand so that it's not locked underneath in the event that it did. And at this point, this is where the brake adjustment comes into play. Now, for me, I always leave the parking brakes that the parking brake cables that we detached earlier to be able to get this off. I always leave those disconnected until the drum is back on and the brakes are adjusted. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be able to turn the drum in front of you, but I'm going to show you how to adjust the brakes with the drum that we have. So the first thing that we're going to do, and this is a at-home way of adjusting your own brakes. Okay, you're going to listen very carefully to make sure that nothing is dragging. You're going to make sure that this thing turns. There is actually a science to doing this and a very specific method to doing it. And there is a special tool that measures the outside of the shoes and the inside of the drum that you use to set it, and then you can literally just put the drum on and it's already adjusted. In this particular case, we're doing this for do-it-yourselfers. You're not really going to have that tool. So I'm not going to use it. In this case, the thing that you want to make sure that you don't do is you don't want to adjust these so tight that they overheat the system. There is a possibility of tightening the star down so tight with the drum on it that the brakes can overheat and actually catch fire. So you want to be really careful when you do this. If at any time when you do your adjustment, this thing no longer spins by hand, you're too tight. So the one thing you're going to want is a hammer. And the reason why you want a hammer is you just want to shock the shoes. Kind of give them a resting spot. Okay? Then you're going to either use a screwdriver or in my case, I use a brake adjuster tool. And you're going to move this star until it pushes the shoes out. Now, if everything goes right, you should feel a click each time you move it, because that little foot for the star adjuster is going to reset into a new tooth every time you move it. So let me see if I can get you up here so that you can watch what I am doing. So I'm just basically using the hub assembly, and then I'm putting my fork, or the flat tip of my adjuster, and I'm just moving it up. Now you see the little foot, how it clicks in and out? You want that to happen. Okay, so you do it a little bit, and then you put your drum back on. Okay, if your drum feels like it's fighting you, do not push the drum all the way on, or you will not get it back off. Okay, mine's a little on the tight side. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to take one hand and pull back on that little foot, and then I'm going to spin that star in the opposite direction that I was turning it to adjust it out. And I'm going to go about half a turn, and then I'm going to try the drum again.